The sun was high in the sky, golden rays flickering through the leaves of the tall oak trees that lined the driveway of the luxurious mansion, the estate that spoke of wealth, power, and a man who had built his empire brick by brick. Richard DeLuca was a name everyone in the city knew, a self-made millionaire, charismatic, with an aura that made people either envy him or admire him. But behind the grand mansion, the fast cars, and the beautiful suits, Richard was just a father, and his little daughter Emily was the one thing in his life that money could never replace. She was 7 years old, with curious brown eyes and a smile that could light up a room, but she was also still fragile from losing her mother 2 years ago. Richard had promised himself he would protect Emily at all costs, even though balancing single fatherhood with the demands of his vast business empire was no easy task. That's where two women in his life came into play. Clara, the stunning fiancée he had recently proposed to, and Maria, the humble maid who had been with the family for years, a woman who knew Emily better than anyone. Clara was glamorous, always dressed to perfection, the kind of woman who turned heads when she walked into a room, and Richard had fallen for her confidence, her charm, and the way she seemed to understand the pressures of his world. But Maria was different, quiet, compassionate, always putting Emily's needs first, often unnoticed in the background yet indispensable in ways Richard barely realized. It was on a warm afternoon when the story took a dangerous turn. Richard had an urgent business meeting, one that could mean millions for his company's next big project, and he asked Clara to take Emily along for a quick drive before dropping her at a play date. "It's just for an hour," he told Clara, handing over the car keys, kissing her cheek, and ruffling Emily's hair. Clara smiled sweetly and said, "Of course, darling, don't worry, I'll take care of everything." But deep down, her mind wasn't on Emily, it was on the expensive jewelry she wanted to buy later that day and the fact that she had a lunch reservation with her friends where she intended to flaunt her engagement ring. Emily, holding her little stuffed bunny, climbed into the back seat of the sleek black car, unaware that she was about to be left alone in a terrifying situation. Clara drove off, but instead of going straight to Emily's play date, she made a detour to the shopping district, parking the car under the hot sun while she slipped into a boutique to just browse. What she didn't realize, or didn't care to consider, was that the car quickly turned into an oven under the blazing afternoon heat, and Emily was trapped inside. The little girl called out, first softly, then louder, banging on the window as the air grew heavier and hotter, her cheeks turning red. "Auntie Clara. Please. It's too hot," she cried, but Clara wasn't there to hear her. She was busy trying on a necklace, laughing with the store clerk, basking in the attention she received. Time ticked on mercilessly, and Emily's cries grew weaker. Back at the mansion, Maria was finishing chores when she noticed Emily's favorite water bottle still sitting on the kitchen counter. A sense of unease filled her chest. She knew the child never left without it, and something in her heart told her Emily might not be safe. Maria had always trusted her instincts. They were the instincts of a caregiver, of someone who saw Emily not just as the boss's daughter but as a little girl who needed protection. Without wasting a second, she grabbed her phone and called Clara, but the call went unanswered. Panic rising, Maria decided to check the usual routes, her heart pounding as she hopped onto the bus that passed near the shopping district. Meanwhile, Emily's small fists pounded against the window of the locked car, her voice hoarse as tears streamed down her flushed face. "Help! Help me!" She screamed, but the busy street was filled with people too distracted to notice, their eyes glued to their own lives. Some glanced briefly but assumed a parent was nearby. Nobody stepped in. That's when Maria arrived, breathless, scanning the rows of cars with frantic eyes until she spotted the familiar black vehicle. Her heart stopped when she saw Emily inside, her tiny hands pressed against the glass, her lips trembling. Without hesitation, Maria picked up a large rock from the roadside. Her palms were sweaty, her mind racing. She knew the window was tough, and breaking it could injure her hands, but time was slipping away. With a desperate cry, she slammed the rock against the glass once, twice, 3 times until it shattered, shards spraying across the pavement. Emily gasped as fresh air rushed in, sobbing in relief. Maria reached in carefully, ignoring the cuts forming on her hands as she unlocked the door and pulled Emily into her arms. "It's okay, sweetheart, you're safe now," she whispered, tears mixing with sweat on her cheeks. That's when Richard's car screeched to a halt nearby. He had rushed back early from his meeting after a nagging feeling told him he had made a mistake leaving Emily with Clara. What he saw nearly brought him to his knees, Maria holding his trembling daughter, the car window smashed, and Emily clinging to the maid like her life depended on it. What happened? Richard demanded, his voice trembling with rage and fear, but when he pieced it together, his expression turned from confusion to fury. Clara emerged from the boutique, carrying shopping bags, and froze when she saw the scene. Richard, it's not what it looks like. I just stepped away for a minute, she stammered, but her excuses fell flat as Richard's face hardened. He saw the red marks on Emily's cheeks, the sweat-soaked hair, the fear still lingering in her eyes. He saw Maria's bloodied hands and the rock lying by the shattered glass. And in that moment, he knew the truth. Clara had forgotten, or worse, neglected, his daughter, while Maria had risked her own safety without hesitation. Emily reached out to Richard, sobbing, "Daddy, it was so hot, I couldn't breathe, but Maria saved me." Her small voice pierced the silence, and Richard's heart shattered. He pulled his daughter close, kissing her forehead, then turned to Clara with eyes that blazed with anger. "You left her in the car?" he asked coldly. Clara tried to argue, but her words were shallow compared to the raw evidence before him. Richard looked at Maria then, truly seeing her for the first time, not just as an employee but as the woman who had been the silent guardian of his child. "Thank you," he whispered hoarsely, his gratitude overflowing, though it felt insufficient. But Maria only shook her head, holding Emily tighter. "She's like my own child," she said softly, and those words seared into Richard's soul.